What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys. Well, we have some good stuff happening with the SPS flywheel. You can see here that for anybody who's been following, the company DEC, every time it gets below a certain level, anywhere between like 250 or 275 million, the company will go out and actually burn SPS, right? They'll buy and burn SPS in order to get DEC to pay out the back-end transactions for credit. So anytime somebody's bringing in either fiat or other crypto to buy credits and then use those credits, the sellers receive DEC on the back end, and the team needs that, and it doesn't seem like they want to go below 250 or 275. So all of that is a backdrop for what I think is going to be an upcoming catalyst. How big of a catalyst, I don't know. It's difficult to say right now, but what I'm referring to is the Grain-Dec LP, which is what we know as the first or top priority item for Land 1.6. I don't know when this is coming out. My hope is that it will come out in January, as the team, is trying to get a lot of the 1.6 items out of the way. And if that is the first priority item, hopefully we do see it in January, which is, just a couple of days away here, or at least within the next month, as we're sitting at the end of December. So what I'm trying to get at is, well, if we do get the DEC LP and we do get, a lot of people that want to provide liquidity, if we don't have as much DEC as is required as of now in order to make it make sense, will the community, maybe the team members, well, not the team, but maybe team members, will people go out and actually buy and burn SPS for DEC in order to cover that? Because as it stands right now, whenever the team needs DEC, they're not going out to the market and buying it because they're going to move the price too much. We're actually staying very much within the range of the intended peg, which is, $1 for 1,000 DEC. So let's actually just take a quick look here. I have the other liquidity pools up and available just to show how much liquidity is there. So I'm going to ignore anything with SPS. Let's just focus on primarily the DEC stablecoin ones. So you can see here DEC USDC. This is the one on the BNB Smart Chain. This has $238,000 of liquidity. DEC DAI has $330,000 of liquidity. You got another $200,000 in DEC Swap.Hive and almost $700,000 in DEC SPS. But we don't really need to focus on these last two. Now, when I'm looking at these and I'm wondering, okay, there's a lot of people who like to play the LP game. There's no LP rewards for the DEC Grain LP, at least not right now. In the future, there will be, according to the Land 2.0 white paper. But there is a 10% fee whenever somebody makes a transaction on the grain market. And that all goes to paying out, or at least I think a portion of it maybe gets burned. A large portion of it, let's say, goes out to all of the liquidity providers. So 10% is kind of huge when you think about the fact that something like Grain-Dec, for example, has a 0.25% fee that goes to liquidity providers. 10% is 40x that, right? Now, the question then becomes, how much volume is there going to be in this Grain DEC LP? Because for the past month, many people have already gotten their grain that they need. Sure, there might be some stuff happening on the secondary or on peer-to-peer markets, but for the most part, I think many people are finding that they can be self-sufficient. So I don't know how much volume there's going to be, and it's hard to kind of imagine that. I mean, I guess we could dig into the peer-to-peer right now. Obviously, it'll probably be a little bit higher than whatever's happening in peer-to-peer. But regardless, there is going to be liquidity required, which is going to be fantastic, right? So the key number here that I want to focus on is $50,000. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be $50,000. I'm not saying it's going to be a lot more or a lot less. I'm just saying $50,000 is interesting because for every $50,000, remember, half of that's going to be in grain, half of that's going to be in DEC. And with DEC at peg, that's 25 million DEC required. So going back to this page, you can see here that we keep ranging. Every time we go below 275, right, usually around 275, the company will burn enough SPS to get back up above 300. So if we've seen that happen several times and it has pushed SPS up from below 3 cents to 3.1, 3.2, all the way up to 3.6, I'm curious to know if we do get $50,000 worth of liquidity, could that be a similar type of burn that the company does? If we get $100,000 worth of liquidity, could that be even more, right? So again, this is not financial advice. I'm not trying to make price predictions here, but we're getting regular pack sales, we're getting regular credits coming in. The company is doing this on somewhat of a consistent basis whenever the company DEC falls below a certain threshold. So we know that it's having an impact. But what happens when the rest of the community wants to rush in and take advantage of this? And they could, they may not, right? Like, we'll have to wait and see how it actually happens. If the volume is good, though, and especially if there's not much liquidity but the volume is high, all these people are going to be getting a super high APR on their liquidity provided, which could in turn get people to jump in. Now, I don't know if they're going to have all the metrics up and available where people will be able to see like the volume and all that. I hope that they do, right? Just like you can go into tribal decks and kind of dig into all the DeFi elements and stats. But if that does end up happening within the next couple of weeks here, as we get into January, or at least whenever the first, part of phase 1.6 launches for land, that could be a catalyst. And, we're sitting at 3.6, 3.7 cents. We've been pushed up already. I would love, personally, there's not a prediction, but I would personally love to see when the Grain LP comes out, people buying burning SPS, trying to get into the Grain LP. I mean, I'm stacking Grain right now. I will need DEC as well in order to participate, and who knows, maybe even push SPS up to $1. Now, I know that I want to focus on the Grain DEC LP, but here's the other interesting thing. If you go to the second priority item as listed out a while back, it is the research tokens, right? In order to get the prefix title. Oh, sorry, it is the prefix titles, so which you'll need research tokens to get. Now, if there's 7 to 10 whales trying to get those top 7 titles, and they all realize that they need more research and want to fight with one another, right? And it's not 7 to 10. It'll probably be about maybe the top 20 people who are going for research, again, fighting within their own territories. That could be another area in which people decide, you know what? I'm not going to go for Grain, because I want to go for research since I'm within the area, and maybe Grain's going for super cheap. But that makes them net buyers and adds to the volume overall for the Grain DEC LP if they decide that it's worth it. Maybe, and again, Grain could be super cheap, but if the volume is high, right, because people are just they need it, they're buying, they're selling, whatever. All of that goes towards paying out the fees to the liquidity providers, which increases the APR over time. So again, this is all just speculation. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe about $50,000. Maybe that's too high, right? Maybe it's going to be super small and there's not going to be much volume. It could end up being a nothing burger. But in terms of like just things that I see on the horizon, from what we know with the team's focus on land and new player experience next year, I'm hoping that we get to see the Grain DEC LP go live next month. And if it does, it could have a very similar, maybe even stronger impact, maybe even much stronger impact on the buying and burning of SPS for DEC that we're seeing the team do somewhat regularly. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're looking forward to that, if you're planning for it, maybe you got your Grain and DEC already stacked aside, maybe you don't. But otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.